The estimated wait time is approximately forever.
So politically correct anymore. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Please continue to hold for the next available representative.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
We appreciate you waiting and waiting. What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
People who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live stream, another primary live stream. Once again, we have some states to cover. We're going to be putting on the face cam right about now, and here we are. We are ready to go. We already have one race that was decided tonight out of South Carolina, which, again, this was a runoff election. South Carolina, they had their first round a couple weeks ago. Then you have this surprisingly decently high turnout for a runoff compared to some of the other runoffs that we've seen this election cycle at the congressional level. Sherry Biggs, who is backed by Governor Henry McMaster, actually defeated by around 1,000 votes the Trump-backed Mark Burns. Now, Sherry Biggs seems like she's not exactly a horrible candidate. It's not like this race is anything, I guess you would say, disappointing, even though I think we may get some of that later in Utah because I have zero faith in Utah. The polls don't look good. But you know how the media is going to spin it. Trump is losing influence. They've already started. The media, they were preparing these articles despite the fact that, Sherry Biggs basically ran the same campaign, had twice the money, had more local endorsements, including local MAGA endorsements, and she ended up winning over Mark Burns by 1,000 or 1,200 votes, which, again, it's not technically done yet in terms of the votes that haven't been counted in some places, but it's called. It's not going to change. But we have to get to New York as well. New York, I think, is going to be more crucial because there's this hotly contested primary on the Democrat side. Jamal Bowman, he pulls the fire alarm. He was campaigning with AOC, in the Bronx, had less people at that rally than Trump's rally in the Bronx. And you look at it, it's like Bowman goes out there 83% in the Bronx, but the district, Westchester County, you have the more, I guess you would say more tame Democrat, well-funded Democrat in George Latimer. He's angling for that seat. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how the results come in. Bowman's killing it in the Bronx. Maybe election day votes might be more favorable to him. I don't know. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this exactly shakes out based off of what's going on. But we have 1,000 live viewers in chat. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. If you want to use the live chat, we're going to be going for, I don't know how long. I know Utah does not like to count votes very quickly. Colorado, on the other hand, does. So we'll see what happens tonight. But if we have any people in chat that have any questions for me, or we could talk about a lot of things, we got the debate in a couple days. Super chats, the super chat function is available. The dollar symbol at the bottom of the live chat. But we do have a decent amount to get to, decent amount to talk about. And I mean, we'll see what you guys have to say. But we got election results pouring in. It does seem, if you want to look at New York, it does seem, if you look at the, what's it called? There's some of these other races. You see the AOC race. They called it for AOC. She apparently is going to get by just fine. The Democrat challenger this time did not do super well. And obviously she's going to stay in Congress for another 2 years. So there's that. But again, you have the Bowman seat, which again, you talk about this one, now it's up to 26% reporting. That's the one to watch because on the Republican side, you don't have very many contested primaries. You don't. You have Claudia Tenney. That's going to be the closest one, and we'll monitor it. But right now, she's at 68% of the vote. So, I mean, we'll keep tabs on it for sure. But the main focus is on the 16th district. This is the most hotly contested district. And again, Bowman's gaining percentage-wise, but a lot of that is because of the Bronx. The Bronx is 49% in. He likely will continue to run up the score in the Bronx, but Latimer was really focusing on the new suburban part of the district, getting those suburban-type voters out, getting a large portion of the Jewish population out. You saw very high turnout there in Westchester among the Jewish precincts, and that seems to be what is, as of now, could be the defining factor, just because Bowman was hit on the 10-7 stuff and he was hit on the Democrat side. And will it be enough for Bowman to fall, not in the Bronx, but in Westchester, where you have a little bit of a different electorate, a more suburban, affluent electorate, more corporate Democrat type of voter? That's kind of where Bowman's going to fall a little bit short. AOC was out there with Bowman in the Bronx ranting like a crackhead to about 200 people. Trump got probably 10, 15, actually probably more like 30 or 40 times that margin. It was insane. I mean, I don't know what she was on. She was on the same drugs that they're probably going to have Biden on Thursday night. So you look at that. It's not surprising, but again, it just depends on the margins we see in Westchester based off of what we see now. Latimer's at 69%. Is that going to hold? We don't know what precincts are in. We don't know how the election day vote's going to go. Seems like a lot of these more standard Democrats, they're typically the Democrats that vote by mail, but then you also have the far left. Maybe they are more likely to show up on election day. Who knows? We haven't analyzed a lot of Democrat primaries lately, especially because we don't have them. But it does seem like the uncommitted style voter, those type of people typically came out on election day more so than the mail-in votes we saw in the primary for Biden, if that's any indication for anything, which it might not be for the record, but we'll see. We have a couple of super chats in chat. We'll get to Stephen Knizik for 20, saying the Bob Good primary keeps giving gold. Apparently there are claims that Good lost because people abuse ballot drop boxes, something that would have not happened if Never Trumpers had worked with Bannon to get rid of him. It is ironic, I will say, that you have the DeSantis crowd and all these other Republicans who really only like Bob Good because he didn't endorse Trump. And because Trump endorsed against him, they're coming out now. They're saying that, oh, well, this election was, they'll use the same terminology. They'll use the word rigged. They'll use the words it was stolen, taken, you name it. You can't win with these people. If Trump says that he's a crazy person, according to them, he's a conspiracist, they do it's a little different. DH says Boebert won, which is exactly what we're checking right here. Jeff Hurd in the 3rd District. Ron Hanks, probably the better candidate in terms of the issues, but there is the electability concern. He's losing so far, believe it or not. He's losing. Seems like that concern delivered. But Lauren Boebert did win in the 4th District. There's not a lot of competitive races, but Colorado does drop the votes quickly. It does seem, like I said, Jeff Hurd will likely win the 3rd based off of what we've seen, unless we see a massive 180. And then in the 4th District, Lauren Boebert, a much better fit for her. It's not like you have these wealthy ski resort towns, definitely more rural, stereotypical rural America part of Colorado. Lauren Boebert easily running up the tally in the mail-in votes there. She's the projected winner of that race. Gabe Evans, projected winner in the 8th District. And then you have some, incumbents or people that are running uncontested in some of these other places. So not a lot in Colorado. The Democrats can pour money in the 4th District trying to unseat Boebert. Hopefully they do. So they waste money there. They don't waste money in other places. But DH also says, who remembers when Bowman screamed at Thomas Massey's face at the U.S. Capitol saying more guns lead to more deaths after Nashville? Well, I think that there's a problem there that is kind of, it misses the point, I guess you would say. Why did that shooting happen in Nashville? Because you had an insane, deranged person who identifies as the opposite sex or whatever, the transgender individual who's radicalized probably by Reddit and targeted a Christian school. That's what happened. And they sat on the manifesto for a year until nobody cared about it before they quietly released certain parts of it. That's a problem. Is that not a problem? I think it's a problem. A big problem. And yeah, he's a moron. The fire alarm, everything. Now, I kind of secretly do want him to win in a way, just because he's so bad that he makes us look better in comparison. There is something to it. You can talk about the Overton window, but you have people like Cori Bush, and you have people like Jamal. Let them be the face of the Democrats. Let them be the face. Everyone talks about MTG, which again, MTG is not as solid anymore as she used to be, for one. It's not. But the other, what's it called? The other side of the coin is, yeah, Bowman being there. He makes us look good in comparison. He does. And maybe that's like a more, you're putting your own interests over I don't care. George Latimer, they're going to have the same voting record anyways for the most part. There's no difference between how neoliberals vote and how crazy people vote. The crazy people, they're not even effective at moving the Overton window. You have some people that will do it effectively, and they don't tend to be those types of people, at least on the Democrat side, especially on the Democrat side. Let's see. Let's see. KT, thank you for the 5. Jay Harold says, is it true I'm being paid by Israel to keep quiet on the issue? Fuentes said you probably are. I don't know if that's true. I've never heard that allegation. As for me being paid, am I being paid by them? If they want to give me money, they're more than welcome to send me super chats. They're more than welcome to Cashapp $redeaglepatriot as much as they want. But apparently because I support Donald Trump, because I don't think that our number one focus should be opposing Israel, I'm being paid, whatever. I've gotten these claims mainly over the past few months. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm focused on doing what I'm doing. I'm focused on trying to get Donald Trump elected. I'm trying to get our border as secure as possible. I'm trying to reverse the damage that has been done by this country. If Donald Trump is going to accept $100 million from some mega donor and take that money away from these other down ballot neocons, why exactly is that, in my view, going to be a bad thing? So I don't know if he said, I don't care if he did, it doesn't matter. I couldn't care less, but I have gotten people that have said that. I just have to say that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me what allegations people throw out. I'm not being paid. Some people say I'm being paid by Trump. A lot of people said that back in the day in the primaries. I wasn't. Some people might be getting paid. I was not getting paid. And if I was getting paid, I would accept the money. I'm going to say the same things, though. Israel wants to pay me, fine. Any country in the world wants to give me money, but that's not how it works. It's an unserious allegation, not even paid by any, mega donors at all, besides you guys. The only people that pay me are, you talk about advertisers, which again, yeah, it's like, oh, well, My Patriot Supply. I'm sure now they're owned by... They're an Israeli company now, right? I don't even think that that's even remotely true. You have the people in the live chat, the super chatters, and they're the ones who send in money and they get something in return, people that join the website. I mean, it is what it is. But what can I say? Let's see. We have another super chat. Base Cat says Chank's head will explode if Bowman loses. Oh, probably. He's going to have a meltdown. He hasn't had a meltdown in a while. I don't know what he's going to do on election night if Trump wins. He's basically said Trump's the favorite, but I mean, you know how he can change on a dime. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Bob K. MIT says, I think Trump will pick Doug Burgum, which is a mistake. Well, like I said, the VP pick in and of itself is an overrated post, and we have more results, and George Latimer's gaining as more of Westchester County comes in. But in terms of Burgum, it's like, I'm not the biggest Burgum fan. I don't really like him a lot, but I don't really hate him a lot. I can't find the energy to hate him. He's boring. He doesn't have a lot of charisma, but so long as he can take care of Harris, it doesn't take a lot of effort. He is a smart guy, and he's got the rugged aesthetic. I don't know, you could make an argument that could be beneficial in the Midwest, but it also, you could say Trump is more looking for somebody who's a little bit more polished. I don't hate Burgum. I also don't love Burgum. And if Trump picks him, it's like, it is what it is. I don't think he'll be the nominee in 2028. I don't think he'd even be the favorite to be the nominee in 2028. And I don't think he's somebody who's like a relentless backstabber. It's like, yeah, he didn't support Trump in the primary when he was running against him, and he did say some things against him. But like every possible person Trump could select has said something against him. Rubio ran against him, called him a con artist. J.D. Vance said all these horrible things before he changed his mind. Then you had, I think Glenn Youngkin might be the only person that's never said a word about Trump that was negative to my knowledge, even though his lieutenant governor did. You look at all these other people. Vivek Ramaswamy, the fan favorite who will, a lot of people will be sad when I say this, he's not going to be chosen. You heard it here first. You might as well accept it now. Vivek wrote books where he critiqued Donald Trump ad nauseum about certain things. So, you're not going to find a perfect VP, especially one that's going to help you across the finish line electorally and also have zero possible, they might, I guess you would say, be like some sort of a backstabber. It doesn't exist. It's not true. Olivia Williams says, what happened to Lion Niles? I have no idea. Also, is Rufus a troll? It depends. He's a character. I think he's intriguing, and he's been wrong about a lot of things. But is he like trolling sometimes? Yes. Is he like a full-blown troll? I can't say that he is. So apparently, some networks have called it for Latimer. I don't know if I'd call it just yet. There's still a lot of vote left, unless they're really anticipating Latimer to gain. Richard Head says, does Paul Young take Michigan's 8th? I didn't even know if he's running. I don't know if he has a primary opponent. I don't know the state of that race, but if Donald Trump is going to be on the top of the ticket, it does seem like those Michigan seats that are now open, there's a big possibility that I think that we end up flipping one of them, if not both of them. Punch a Bunch Bear says, of course, yeah, not a good night for chunk yogurt either, as somebody mentioned before. Bed and Blankets says Marco Rubio for VP. It did seem like for a while he was, doing fairly well in terms of the betting odds or in terms of his stock rising. I don't know if he's going to be VP, though. I think he's less likely because of the residency thing. I've heard from people and reports that if Rubio was not a resident of Florida, that Donald Trump would have probably selected him for VP. That's going to be an interesting thing people might be talking about for years to come if Donald Trump does end up winning the election. But it's possible. It's just, in my opinion, not likely because of the residency thing. And then, yeah, Latimer went down in Westchester, but Bowman went up. Latimer went down, but Bowman also went down because of the fact that the votes still came in at a heavier rate than what Latimer's winning by. So Stephen Kanizik says, I have no problem with Burgum, other than the fact that he looks like Jack Nicholson's Joker from the 1989 Batman film. I don't fully get the reference because I haven't seen that, but I mean, I know what you mean in terms of the aesthetic overall. Some people like it, some people don't. DH says, will Trump announce his VP before July 11th? I probably, if I was going to do like a betting odds thing, I'd say I'd lean towards it. But again, you never know. Mike Pence, he announced, I think, a week before the convention in 2016. That's typically when it gets announced. I think Biden announced Harris a little bit before the DNC took place in 2020, like a week or so before. Sam Madsen says, an AOC-type Democrat in the Colorado State House is losing her primary by 30 points with 95% in because those policies don't work and they're not popular. That's basically it. Especially like the far-left crime policies, you talk about stuff like that. That's being rejected. Even in places like Seattle, we see that being rejected. So let's look at New York. I kind of want to get a glimpse of the Claudia Tenney race. So again, 11% is in, she's up by a 2-1 margin. She's probably going to win, even though you do have again, when you have a primary challenger that's hitting them from the right that does well, usually you see an improvement in their voting record and things like that. So what can I say? But again, all the focus is on this 16th district on the Democrat side. Let's see. Dave M for $50 says, mega donor, thank you. Apparently, according to some people, you're actually secretly Netanyahu, Dave. So you can, I guess you're on. They've been on to you. They found you out. America First Conservatives 45s for 20 says, will Trump lose New York by 7? Also, will we keep New York's 19th and 17th, and we will pick up the 18th? I'm not sure. The 19th district, let me see this map here. Let me go New York. Let's see. I think we keep the 19th. It's Molinaro's seat. I think we probably do keep the 17th, which is Lawler's seat. In terms of the 18th, I think that Democrats probably, in my opinion, are going to end up. I think that if there's one race that they're going to flip besides the Williams seat, it is going to be the D'Esposito seat in the 18th district. So let's see. Olivia Williams says, you're going to release any more rap tracks? I don't know. If I feel like it. You can't force something. You can't force content. You have to let the content come to you. And then you have to make the content. Same thing goes for YouTube. Same thing goes for anything. It's just how it goes. But you look at the Colorado, it seems like Ron Hanks, he's narrowed it a little bit, but that is a big margin to overcome. I think Jeff Hurt is going to win that primary in the 3rd district. So Republicans, you talk about a race that could have been more competitive, seems like Hurt is probably going to end up being the nominee there in that district. But at the end of the day, you do have a little bit of a downgrade in terms of voting record. But again, Boebert is moving. She's in the 4th district now, so you're not losing her. But what can I say? Businessman says, no matter who Trump picks for VP, people will be mad. A lot of people are mad. A lot of bad faith actors are mad at Donald Trump, no matter what side of the right they come from, no matter how they're attacking him. It's demoralization. It's basically demoralization. You have the most important election in front of us that we've ever had. We may not have a country if you give this guy another 4 years. We saw the damage in term 1. Term 2, he's going to have even more of a mandate. If you don't elect Trump, you probably, you give them back the House. Maybe they have the Senate. Is it even going to matter at that point, given the fact that it's still going to be on such a knife's edge, 52-48, when you have Collins and when you have Murkowski and probably another Rhino as Senate Majority Leader? That's going to be a big problem for Biden, a big problem, or a problem for us as a nation, because Biden's going to be able to basically have a trifecta. And we know how these things go. You're just plunging the decline further and further, and you're going to hit the point of no return pretty soon if we keep going down this road. So we always say, oh, we're not going to have a country, whatever. 2020, maybe it wasn't said a whole lot because, I even rewatched the 2020 debates. The political climate was different. I was saying the warning signs, like, this is bad. We got to get out and vote for Trump, even if Trump hasn't fully been 100% perfect or whatever. But you saw what happened. You know what's going on. And what are the real critiques about Donald Trump again? Because they say that, he said something about green cards that he said in 2015. Like, I get it. I thought it was a dumb statement. But again, this is the same guy that's going to have Stephen Miller as his immigration czar, just like he did for some of his first term. And he's going to go back into office. He's going to deport as many people as possible. Some of it may have to be through cutting government benefits, self-deporting, whatever. That might actually do a lot of the work for him. But on top of that, he's also very likely to have somebody in his corner that will be pushing him to cut down naturalizations, cut down visas as well, instead of whatever he told some people where he was just reading the room and told them something. So you look at the words and you look at the action from Donald Trump. The words are bad. The action's not going to be as bad as the words. And you see what's going to happen if the alternative is right here. You know what the alternative is. It's going to get a hell of a lot worse. We have, legal immigration needs to be cut severely, in my opinion. But still, when you have how many illegals here that you got to get out first compared to the opposition who wants to give them all amnesty, have them all stay here, that's a big problem. You basically have a new state of illegal aliens. It'd be like the 12th largest state in the entire country. Over the past 3.5 years alone. You didn't have this under Trump. You do have it under Biden. It's a major problem. The border was pretty much, I wouldn't say it was fixed, but border crossings were down. They would say deportations were, border crossings were down. So of course deportations are going to be down. But on top of it, when it comes down to the wall, Trump did build 500 miles of new and replacement wall. That's not enough, but that is a good start. If you give him another term, you give him another trifecta with a, yes, improved GOP, whether you think it's perfect or not, he's going to be able to get a hell of a lot more done. A hell of a lot more done. So is it going to be entirely perfect? Should people set the highest expectations ever? Probably not. I get it. And they called it for Latimer. Latimer has defeated Jamal Bowman. Down goes Jamal Bowman. There are votes left in the Bronx, but again, Westchester County is, you look at the total turnout here. New York Times has been awful with this lately, but if their numbers are close to accurate, you add it up, there's about 38 or 37,000 or so votes remaining there. In the Bronx, you have probably around 4,000. So that's what's going on. So we have a few more super chats here. But yeah, in terms of the VP pick, Trump, he could pick anybody and people would be mad. There's not a single person he could pick where some group of people, some wing of the internet, Twitter, electoral Twitter in general, they're going to be unhappy. A lot of people are going to be mad he's not picking Vivek when Vivek is not being considered for obvious political reasons. I don't believe that he adds anything to the ticket electorally other than making people who are already going to vote for a Trump Burgum or a Trump whatever ticket, at ease. Honestly, VP, is it an important role? I mean, they serve a purpose, but you also have the flip side of the coin. You also have the advisors, the cabinet staff. They have a lot more pull in the VP, which the job of the VP, if you don't have a 50-50 Senate, is a largely, I guess you would say, it's a largely figurehead type of position. And that's the way it goes. Marty Smith Fansu for 10 says, my 93-year-old aunt in Montana loves Burgum. I told her I wanted JD. We have a bet going $50. She insists Trump picks Burgum. It's just cool that betting my 93-year-old aunt anything on politics. Well, I will say it'd be interesting if it's none of those two. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to be Vance. Vance, it just seems like, in my opinion, he's just too new to the scene, and I don't know how his policies would shake out in terms of the donor factor for Trump, but also you have the just the electoral side of things and how he would impact the race. Maybe you could say he would help in like some Rust Belt states or whatever, but at the end of the day, does he really help that much compared to, the media will drive the wedge based off of things Vance has said about Trump in the past? These are serious questions, and they do need to be answered in this upcoming, I guess you'd say a week or two if Trump is still considering him. America First Conservatives 45 says a Dem is currently in the 18th, so I guess that this is true. Hold on, I made a mistake. So Esposito is not de-Esposito. So that was my mistake. But yeah, Democrats probably hold it unless Trump has some freak Zeldin type of performance in the state, and then his coattails probably, I guess you'd say, would be stronger than Zeldin's were back in the statewide race, because Trump is also running for a federal race. I don't know if he's going to get it that close, though. I think you could talk about like R plus 13, but R plus 6, D plus 13, but D plus 6, that might be cutting it. But when you look at the polls, Trump is polling better in New York than Zeldin was at this stage in the game. So, I don't think Trump is going to win. I don't think the math is really there. Even if he gets double the gains Zeldin got in every single New York City borough, it's not quite enough for him. New York is a very big state, and upstate is not like rural Pennsylvania. It's very, in many places where there's a lot of people, it's very liberal, and even in some of these rural places, it's more like, typical New England, more so than it is like, rural Pennsylvania, where every county is going to vote for Trump with over 80% even in some cases of the vote. Restored Data says Gabe Davis in Colorado's 8th is a commendable candidate, quite charismatic. He could beat his Democrat opponent if he plays his cards right. Well, I tend to agree. If you have a really good candidate in this district, is it possible that there's going to be a higher third-party vote share? Could that make Colorado closer? The polls show it being closer. But then again, we've seen what's happened in Colorado. It's the Democrats' version of Florida, but thankfully it's much, much smaller. And it really wasn't that competitive going into 2016. But it's crazy how the map has changed since then, or even since, Romney's 2012 strategy. And that's thanks to Donald Trump. And trying to tank the election away, you throw that away. You throw out the chance that we have to have any sort of power. You throw the baton back even further. If Trump loses, the neocons are going to have far more of a claim over the Republican Party than they have right now, because people will say, I'm done with this. We couldn't even beat Biden when he had a 40% approval rating. They'll say stuff like that. And obviously, I think Trump is going to win as of now. But still, you have to look at the big picture here. If people are a little bit upset with Trump, it's one thing. But at the end of the day, we have to win this election. Look at what they're doing to this guy. You're just going to let them walk all over him? You're really going to let them walk all over this guy? All the legal bullshit that they have thrown his way, excuse the language, but it's true. There's no better word to describe it. Everything from the E. Jean Carroll case, defamation case, to the property case, twisting the law against their political opponent, and you are going to let them win. And you're going to claim that you're like the threat to the establishment that way? No. I've seen all these DeSantis people mainly, but I'm serious. Like you can't, like they're all over Twitter. They're not in real life. They're all over Twitter. They're all over social media, but they're not in real life. And that's the way it goes. So Nick the Enlightened says, incoming meltdown from Bowman. Can't wait to see what the bozo scapegoat will be. I mean, probably he'll just blame big money. He'll blame AIPAC, which I mean is technically true that they did spend a hell of a lot of money against him. And it seems like it's a 10-point race. It's probably going to stay. Maybe it'll be a 15-point win based off of what's left is mainly Westchester. But I mean, it's like, yeah, big money in politics shouldn't be there. I get it. I understand that. But Bowman is such a dipshit that his own behavior is what led to his demise, more so, in my opinion, than a lot of things, because the only reason why it could have been close to begin with, it wasn't because of, I guess you would say his stance on Israel, because there's other candidates with his stance on Israel that faced candidates with a lot of money, and those candidates fell short, like the woman in Pennsylvania, who's also like a squad member in the 12th district there. She was elected for the first time in 2022, and you saw what happened this primary. She won like 65-35 or something like that, and you're seeing what's happening in New York here. Bowman, a lot of the reason why he fell, yes, it was in part the big money, but it also was in part, his behavior, the fire alarm thing. And that's not to make excuses for big money in politics, but that's just to say, there's other factors that matter. But I guess that I'm just being paid off by big money if I say that. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Let's see. Mad Max, thank you for the 2. Stephen Knisik says Jamal Bowman loses, Tim Pool is most affected. I don't know what Tim Pool said. Oh yeah, and racism will be the scapegoat. It's totally, that's going to be the scapegoat, and not I'm an idiot who pulled a fire alarm and has the maturity of a 6-year-old in Congress, because that's the main reason why. Let's be real here. That's the main reason why. Sam Madsen says, do you think Hanks would have lost the general? I don't think so, but I think it would have been closer than it should have been. Because, yeah, Trump would have won that district probably by the margin he won it by back in 2020, maybe a little bit less. I don't think there's going to be that big of a discrepancy when Trump is on the ballot. Like, you look at Polis and his Republican opponent. The Republican opponent, I think, underperformed Boebert back in 2022. So, again, like I said, I think it would probably be close. I would be fine with Hanks as the nominee. I'm not the one that's, I didn't think he would necessarily win because he was getting vastly outspent. But still, you look at it and it's just like, Hurd is the nominee. You get extra money to spend elsewhere. Give it to Trump. Honestly, he should have because all the effects of him just being on the ballot, you have a lot of down ballot effects. They're positive. That's more than enough, in my opinion. Let's see. Olivia Williams says, do you think Mark Burns being black hurt him? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. You talk about this race here in South Carolina. This is the same district. I mean, they voted heavily for Tim Scott, didn't they? I mean, they voted heavily for a lot of different candidates. I don't think that was a determining factor. I think it was more the McMaster endorsement of Biggs. It was the spending advantage that Biggs had. And, Burns was endorsed by Trump. You could say, oh, you really think 1,000 of these people? I don't think it matters. I don't think when people go to vote, they're thinking about, oh, I can't vote for this person because of ethnicity. Religion's a little bit different because you have people that say, I won't, and this is another problem with Vivek, and it's not being talked about. You have people that say, I don't want to vote for somebody who is, for example, Hindu because I don't feel as if they share my values. And I think that, obviously, there's a lot of factors to this. I think anybody who wouldn't vote for Trump because his VP is not a certain religious designation, I feel as if that's dumb, that's short-sighted, it's counterproductive, and that's petty. Joe Biden is a quote-unquote Catholic, and we know he acts like he serves the devil, is exactly what he does, and we know that. But it's like, in terms of that being the only determining factor, let's say the two candidates were perfect, it came down to one thing, and that's what it was. Yeah, it's like a primary. I get it. Okay, I get it. I don't think you're acting out of line if that's the one determining factor out of everything, if everything else is equal. But race, not necessarily used as one. In my book, at this stage in the game, it's not. It doesn't matter. At least maybe 30, 40 years ago, a little bit different in the South. But again, it's a new era. That's not really the main factor here. Otherwise, you'd have a primary challenger to Tim Scott, and they'd be able to run it up in certain places. Like, certain parts of rural South Carolina, they voted heavily for Burns, but Burns didn't really run the greatest campaign in certain places, and it caused his downfall. So I don't think that race is an effective scapegoat, just like it's not in New York's race, and I'm sure that Jamal Bowman is going to use that as one of his excuses for his demise, and again, that's what he would do because he's a little baby. Dylan Allen says Burgum or Tulsi are looking like the most likely VP picks. I don't know about Tulsi. I have to push back on that. But Vivek for Secretary of Commerce, he's the heir apparent, or Secretary of Treasury, like with the crypto stuff, that would be huge. Like, I think Vivek has a role in the cabinet. I do not believe that he's necessarily going to, I guess you'd say, come out of this as the VP. He's not. He'll have his time to shine. He will. He will have his time to shine one day. But is it right here, right now? I don't believe that it is. And as the VP, like I said, if you double down too much, it can backfire. It can. MAGA Twitter, love MAGA Twitter, but they're not necessarily representative of the electorate at large. And I think Trump knows that better than anybody as well. And while he wants somebody the base will like and, doesn't spit in the face of the base, he obviously doesn't want somebody who will possibly prevent him from picking up voters, because I don't know who Vivek really adds to the table. You could say, well, libertarians or whatever. Trump went to their convention. That speech is probably more consequential. Vivek is still on Trump's side. He's still on Trump's team. If they're a diehard Vivek stan or whatever, they are going to support Donald Trump, plain and simple. And that's the way it goes. I like Vivek. I obviously, his past is not fully vetted. I want to like the guy. I'd vote for him over a lot of people in 2028. I'm not saying he has my endorsement for 2028, but I understand there are some question marks there about his past, and obviously it's with everybody. I mean, I understand people were asking questions about Trump in 2016, but I mean, Trump always had, for the most part, the same values his entire career. When he was a Democrat, he was talking about the need to put America first with trade, not letting other countries push us around. Like, the only thing he probably changed his position on was maybe abortion, maybe guns. And did he really even change his position on those things? Like, he's not the strongest on those things. I get it. But first of all, you can't be too strong on abortion for electoral purposes, or you see what happens. Look at 2022 in Michigan and Pennsylvania. For example, Trump is saying, leave it up to the states, generally pro-life. And, back then he was like, I support it being legal, but I don't like abortion, which, again, is a cop-out position. And many people on the left will take that for political purposes too, depending on where they're running. But that's not like a drastic change. Vivek is somebody that's had drastic changes. And I'm not saying he can't be genuine, but the way he goes, like, I understand why people look at this guy. He's a very smart guy. I respect him a lot. But you look at him with his, like, he talks, he'll talk you around in circles. He'd be the best press secretary in the world. Maybe he should be considered. But in terms of VP, it is a tall ask for somebody that, again, like the guy, he shows promise, but you're basically talking about a rookie to this stuff, and you don't know how he's really going to turn out. You don't have enough tape to really judge his performances. So Byron8899 says, it seems most college students don't seem to care about the border being invaded, but care about what's going on in other countries. Is it just me? Well, if you're talking about the Palestine stuff, I mean, a lot of these college liberals, that's like their main thing. Now, that still kind of helps us because it still makes Biden look bad. I think youth turnout's going to dip quite a bit, and that's going to help out Donald Trump. I don't think the abortion thing is going to stick. Again, you talk about what's going on here. You have Joe Biden saying if Trump wins, they're going to ban abortion. Nowhere does Trump's agenda say that. In fact, he said the opposite on the All In podcast. He said the opposite. So you're trying to say Trump is... Again, it's like I watched the debate, the second debate. The one good line Biden had. The one good prepared line Biden had. And I've tweeted this out today. He said when Trump was talking about socialism and socialized healthcare, Biden, who surprisingly fell short on the issue because he was stumbling too much and really left a lot on the table. He said Trump thinks he's running against somebody else because, all these people that had that position lost the primary, which is technically, true. If you're trying to attack somebody on a position that they don't share, it's ineffective. And I said it was, at the time, Trump and other Republicans trying to call these neoliberal, globalist Democrats socialist. It's not an effective tagline. Now, Trump, thankfully, has dropped that tagline, which is good. But when you talk about, running against somebody, and Biden's going to come up here and say all this stuff about abortion, he's not running against Ron DeSantis or Doug Mastriano or any of these people that have either supported state bans or national bans of X amount of weeks or support abolishing it altogether, which is ideally the good position to have. But when you're trying to play the game, you have to play the game to win, and you have to win. Okay, let's see. Eaters of Dead says this election is not about the fallible man Trump or Biden. It's about sovereignty. Trump needs to make this clear in the debate. Well, we'll see what Trump does. I'm glad he's not over-preparing. You don't want to over-prepare. Biden's over-preparing. Will he remember anything? We'll see what the drugs do. We'll see. I'm not going to stream the debate. I'll be doing the after show. Hopefully it's a good mood that we have. We'll be rooting for Trump. But it's 3 against 1. I will say this about the last debate in 2020. Kristen Welker, who's very insufferable as a journalist, very left-leaning, she moderated the debate very well, better than Chris Wallace, more objective than Chris Wallace. It was not a hard debate to watch. These people, I'm not saying Trump's going to interrupt Biden because he can't because of the debate rules, but you understand how the moderators are going to be. Trump is going to debate Biden, but you're going to have him ganged up. It's 3-on-1. Now, does that mean that Donald Trump is going to lose the debate? No, I don't believe so. Trump works well under pressure, and the public can see through this stuff. They absolutely are capable of seeing through it. If they're undecided, a biased debate's not going to work. And maybe they're not going to be that biased because they may realize that they're overplaying their hand. But it is true. You look at somebody like Jake Tapper. Dana Bash, liberal, but again, not a big track record of saying things against Trump that at least I'm aware of. Maybe if I dug deeper, could find some. But Jake Tapper has said a lot of horrible things about Trump. He is not somebody who I would trust to moderate this debate. But again, Donald Trump, he said, bring it on. Let him bring it on. I don't think it's a bad idea. Walk into the lion's den. If you're capable of being president, which he is, you're capable of dealing with some, theater kid turned journalist or whatever. It's not that difficult to deal with. Sam Madsen says Dave Williams in an upset in Colorado 5, losing 67-33 despite a Trump endorsement. Primary voters must have been afraid of losing the district. Which district? The 5th? I don't even see the 5th. Oh, that one. That's interesting. I didn't even know Trump endorsed in this race. Again, did Trump endorse late? Because again, there's a lot. Colorado's a male state. So if Trump endorsed this guy late, it probably did. That might be the factor. But I know how people are going to look at tonight. They're going to say Trump's endorsements fell short in a lot of these races, and they are falling short for one reason or another. It doesn't mean Trump is necessarily losing his influence. I mean, we saw what happened in the primary when he was on the ballot. And also, what does this say about other races that are upcoming in like Arizona when you have like the Abe Hamadeh race? Because he's down in the polls to Masters. Is he going to be able to win? Probably. I'd say he probably falls short at this stage in the game. But again, you still have a month before the election, so maybe not. So Utah's polls have closed. We have 0 results yet. We have no results in Utah. Again, I'm looking forward to some more primary disappointment. I just hope, if Staggs loses, I hope it's not close, because that way it's not going to be an emotional tear. But if Staggs wins by 1 vote, fine. I hope he wins. Lyman, I don't think he's going to be able to beat Spencer Cox. Phil Lyman is much better, but again, Utah is broken. It's broken. They need to get rid of primaries in Utah. The state GOP, in terms of the conventions, they have the right. They always endorse and support the right candidates. But again, big money's able to impact these primaries. A lot of Democrats in Utah, they vote in these. They're registered as Republicans. Why? Because they know that they can influence the election and elect rhinos that are diet dollar store Democrats in these deep red states. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Exactly what they're trying to do. Mayor of Batesville for 5 says, Christ is king. So true. Absolutely. There is no other king at least king of kings, that is. He's the king of kings. I'm proud of you, 37 says, will you be live streaming the debate on Thursday? I just answered that. I don't know if you sent that in beforehand, but I will be live streaming after the debate. CNN is cracking down with YouTube on copyright. We do not need to risk any sort of a strike or whatever. So we're not going to be streaming it on YouTube. You could say, oh, if you pause it and talk, it's fair use, maybe. And maybe it is, but here's the deal. If I do that, there's going to be a lot of angry people in chat. Oh, you're talking over Trump. You're talking over Biden. Can't exactly do that. I mean, I remember back in the day, long time ago, it was before we even, I wasn't even using OBS to stream. There was my channel was I think we had a few thousand subscribers. The first Democrat debate back in the day, we would put on the phone and we'd hold the phone up on the screen. I don't know. We didn't, that was a very different time. But we've grown a lot since then. Now we're at not 3, we're at 183 almost. So like and subscribe. We're almost to 1,000 likes. Make sure you guys like the video, like the stream. We've got 2,600 people in chat. Yeah, some people remember. We have the OGs in chat. We got the OGs. The OGs are going to remember, but a lot of these people here probably weren't a part of that because we have probably more people in chat than we had at the time we streamed that, or maybe not, but it was a little bit more than that. Ismail Campus says, will Biden make it through the debate? Do Dems cut the feed at the first sign of him losing focus? Does this help Biden at all in ratings? Well, I'm going to say that these are things that people talk about. They never fully come into fruition, and I'd like us not to say them. Trump doesn't do this. He's saying, no, Biden's going to be just like 2012 Biden's, what we're preparing for. That's how you should look at this. Now, in terms of Biden getting through the debate, there is a chance, I will say, that if he does go out there and he does start to really get destroyed and the moderators are not able to bail him out, yeah, they may cut the debate a little short. They may cut it short. And here's the deal. Biden got this debate strategically. Why did he get the debate so early? We know why he got the debate so early. He got the debate early because it's if he bombs, it might not make a difference. And presidents usually don't do too well in their first debate as an incumbent. Usually they don't. They're attacked. They're usually on defense. And Biden can't even go on offense if he wanted to be fair. But when you look at something like that, yeah, the metrics, historical metrics, which have been bucked a lot lately, do show that he's not the favorite based off of that to win this debate. But you can't underestimate the guy. You can't. But still, he also wanted the early debate because he knows that he needs a miracle. He needs a miracle to go out there. He needs a miracle to win. That's that. Let's see. Andrew Mortensen says, what is one question that you want Trump to face on Thursday, and what do you want his ending remarks to be? He should just say, listen, the American people, we had a strong economy. We were not in foreign conflicts. Inflation when I left office was 1.4%. Are you guys better off now, or were you guys better off then? And he has the last word, so Biden can't chime in and say, oh, COVID, which again, wasn't Trump's fault. I mean, it wasn't. The Democrats can't have it both ways. Oh, the country was locked down and the economy was shut down because of Trump. It's like the DeSantis talking point in the primary. Doesn't add up, doesn't make sense. Trump, if you watch the 2020 debates, he was railing against the lockdowns, and it probably hurt him, honestly, given the political climate, sadly. But if you look at the flip side, then they'll also say, well, Trump, he caused COVID to run rampant. He was careless. He didn't lock down enough. And it's like, you cannot have it both ways. But either way, the American people, when they think of 4 years ago, they don't want to think about COVID. You know, Biden saying the empty seat at your dinner table because somebody died of COVID, that line does not hit at all. Doesn't even hit. It's not that it just doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit at all. And that's something that he'll try to weaponize. But again, COVID, Biden had more COVID deaths under him. Like, that's the other thing. Biden 2021 for COVID was way worse. But again, we talk about the fact that we live in a federal republic. It's not a democracy like Joe Biden likes to claim. Founding fathers have been on record just lambasting the idea of democracy. So we'll see. I don't think we have anything. Yeah. Somebody said, special election bros, where are you? Where's the special election? Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at this. Oh, special election bros, what happened? Look at this. Not even close. Republicans just going out there, destroying, decimating the Democrats. Libertarian candidate got a decent amount of the vote there as well. But I don't know. Either way, that's kind of, I guess, well, maybe not. I mean, the primary turnout's uniform everywhere, it seems. So either way, the special election bros, if it's beneficial to their narrative, they'll mention it. They'll shout it from the rooftops. If it's not beneficial to their narrative, they will not say a word about it. They won't. Stephen Knisik says, YouTube 2024, fair use. What are you talking about? Well, it's not just them. It's CNN. It's a lot of different people. Cameron Pack says, no way Biden takes Florida, right? Some say it's possible. Well, you look at Biden. Biden is down in most polls in Florida by close to 10. And the state, you look at the difference in registrations, it's like 1 million new votes net to the Republicans. So there's no way Biden takes Florida. Democrats are not stupid enough. Biden, I think, is even starting to pull out of Florida. So I don't know who's saying it's possible. Where are you hearing that? Twitter? Reddit? Like there's no possible pathway. There's just no possible pathway. Let's see. We have another super base cat says, remember when TrainGate delayed your live stream? I remember. People were sending super chats like crazy. I didn't realize it till I got back home. That was a very, very interesting story. I go to get dinner, pick up some pizza or something, and then get stopped by the train. This was back in Michigan, probably I think the month before I moved, and people were waiting in chat for like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes because I not only did I have to wait for the train, finally went around the train, then got stopped by the police, then got a ticket, but not for speeding. I got a warning on that. I got a ticket on some other nonsense. I think it was a late registration tag or didn't have the right month or wasn't the right year, and it was past the month. So I get back. We have like $300 worth of super chats just sitting there. You have like over 100 people in chat there waiting, and we did a very good stream. It was a very good show, but again, it delayed the stream by like, I don't know, it was not an hour, I don't think. It was like 40 minutes or so. Walk Talk 21. And I also didn't have my phone with me. That was the problem. Because usually I'd have my phone with me and I'd be able to change the time or I could say something in chat. I didn't even have my phone with me. And that was kind of a big determining factor in why I was missing. It's like, this guy just went to sleep. He forgot the chat. It's like, no, I just was stopped by a train and then stopped by the police technically. But I made it out just fine. Walk Talk 21 says, hey, Rep, true or false? Is it fair to criticize Trump for disavowing Alex Jones for what he said about Sandy Hook? Did he disavow Alex Jones? I don't know if he disavowed Alex Jones. But, I mean, if he's disavowing what he's saying, then no, I don't think that it's first of all, I didn't hear anything about him disavowing it. But if Trump is asked, I mean, that's probably the right answer. It's like, Alex, he's a great guy. We love him. He does good. Well, I don't think he's going to say all that, but especially because Alex Jones is wishy-washy on Trump. But in terms of him being asked about, oh, do you support what Alex Jones said about this? He probably says, no, I don't support it. I disavow. But here's the problem. The narrative on the topic about Sandy Hook, if you ask the average person, what's the name of the perpetrator, a good chunk of them probably are going to say Alex Jones, because judging on how the media has covered the situation from one monologue that he's done when his entire brand has basically been about questioning everything, you would think that Alex Jones was the perpetrator. And again, oh, wait, no, you said, is it fair to criticize him for not disavowing him? Which again, he's not being asked. So no, I don't think it's fair to criticize him for not disavowing him. He hasn't been asked. So again, when you talk about Alex Jones, this is a guy who's being decimated in business just because of something he said 10 years ago, because he's a threat to the system. That's a problem. That's the main problem. I think that matters more. That should boil your blood more than some monologue he had about some event 12 years ago. Let's be real here. I'm not saying he was right or that I would have said that or I'm going to defend it. I'm not going to defend it. But again, and you don't have to like Alex Jones. Some people do, some people don't. I get he's polarizing. Even in these circles, he's polarizing. But in terms of disavowing or punching right, it's stupid. It doesn't get us anywhere. I don't like doing it. I don't like doing it. I really don't. It's expected of you. When is the left disavowed? People on the left, never. It never happens. It never happens. It doesn't. Now, if they're being counterproductive or you're asked and you say, yeah, I distance myself, that's one thing. But if you're going to come out here and say, oh, he has to say negative things about something that this guy said 12 years ago, and it's not even that egregious. That's not his entire brand or anything. And they called every race in Utah. Okay. All right. Or Colorado, I should say. We have nothing in Utah. I don't even know if we're going to get results in Utah tonight, but hopefully we do. Hopefully we're not going to be streaming for 4 hours. So that's it. And when I say punching right, I mean to appease the left. That's the key. Because when people do it, usually it's to appease the left. It's not because, oh, this guy said something dumb and I'll comment on it. I punch right quite a bit by that definition. But I'm saying when you do it to appease the opposition, in terms of like the Alex Jones stuff, and go out of your way to do it, it's kind of an issue. Now, if Trump's asked about, do you support this? He should he's probably going to say, no, I think it's I disavow that statement or whatever and move on. Alex Jones has disavowed what he said, so it doesn't even matter at that point. Like, Alex Jones has apologized, walked it back. He's still getting absolutely decimated in terms of his finances based off of what's going on. So again, that's the main problem here. He should be able to have a platform on every major platform. Okay, let's see. Do we have Utah? We have Utah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed. I am disappointed. But what can I say? Phil Lyman's actually winning counties, believe it or not. Do what you will with that. But again, you talk about the establishment. You talk about what's going on, doing everything possible to get their little mitten sequel in Utah. John Curtis and Trent Staggs, who had the party endorsement, overwhelmingly won at the convention, got the Trump endorsement. Utah is being Utah right now. And again, it's even more infuriating when you see the other candidates are just, our establishment is Curtis. Brad Wilson is basically just his establishment. And yeah, Staggs might gain based off of votes that come in, but you have half the vote and you think he's going to get 50% of the remainder of what's out there? I don't see it, especially with Summit County not reporting anything, and that being one of the more rhino type of counties. So yeah, Staggs will probably gain, but it's like, that's not good. That's not good at all. It's not. It's sad. But this is Utah. This is what Utah does. And I'm not happy about it. I think that we need to change the system. But you talk about the things that these rhinos do to stay in power is unbelievable. These are the same people that call themselves principled, and then they do everything possible to make sure they get Democrats voting for them. You name it. See, Washington County's like normal. They're normal. They're voting for Staggs. Staggs probably might take some rural counties down here. I mean, that we know. I don't think that there's a lot of Mormons in Grand County. That might help Staggs out. But still, it's tough. Trump, surprise! I don't know how Trump won Utah in the not in terms of the general, but in terms of the primary. I don't even know how he did so well. I think he got like 60% of the vote against Haley, who was spending like crazy everywhere. But I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. Andrew Mortensen says, where do you see this channel in 4 years from now? Do you have any goals with it? And when will you make a political run? Well, I think the channel will still be around in some way, hopefully. Fingers crossed nothing happens to it. But in terms of the channel and its future, I don't know. I can't say. Probably we're going to be doing something similar. I would assume 2028 is going to be an election. May not be as fun without Trump in the mix. But 2028 will be something. Maybe some other movement's going to come along, or at least the Trump movement will be built upon, is what I'm saying. And at that point, you're going to have that candidate who, does provide content for the internet, and we can definitely use it to the channel's advantage. But in terms of the channel 4 years from now, I don't know what I'll be doing. In terms of, you say political run in the super chat, what are my goals, political run? I don't know. Maybe. I think I could win a state legislative seat easily, depending on where it is. Probably not going to be here. Probably not going to be in Texas at all for much, much longer. But in terms of political, runs that I might make, yeah, maybe. I'll be in law school pretty soon. We'll see what happens on that front. But in terms of we're going to abandon the channel altogether, no. I mean, no matter what happens in the election, the channel is going to go on. Now, obviously, it'd be a hell of a lot better if Donald Trump wins for the channel and also for just everything in the country. But as of right now, I think Trump is going to win. But we've seen what's happened before, I will say. And that is true. So Utah, we'll go back to Utah. Disappointment. Once again, Utah cannot do anything properly, which is a big problem. I can't do anything right in primaries. I don't even know how the hell did Mike Lee get elected. How the hell? I think it was by convention, actually. They should just go back to do the convention. They should do the convention for every single one of these races. It's not even like it's close and Staggs narrowly loses. He's getting shellacked so far. It's not something to be proud of. Phil Lyman's actually doing better than I thought. How is he doing better than Staggs is kind of surprising, because he's going up against an incumbent. And again, we know that Spencer Cox is going to win. And it's sad. I don't understand how they would nominate this clown. But Phil Lyman, he's not doing that bad. I thought it'd be, I mean, if this was the result, I thought that this would be like a 70-30 type thing or worse. But it seems like Lyman could crack 40. I don't know if that would even push Cox to the right, because Cox isn't going to run for re-election based off of term limits. Let's see. More super chats. Base Cat says, who is your peer that went live on? You're talking about Vince Dow. Vince Dow went live on mute for about 20 minutes. I think it was, July 14th. That was the incident name. Ismail Campus says, what do you think Trump will do to deal with Russia and North Korea's alliance and the BRICS coalition? I think that's a question for him at the debate, because I have no idea. Now, he kind of released the plan about Russia and how he wants the deal to go. He basically laid it out, and maybe you don't want to lay it out this early because you don't want to give the enemy the playbook. But what he's saying is, you got to make a deal. That's how it gets done. Art of the deal, Trump. He did it a lot during his presidency. Okay, some people are saying there's congressional races to look at, which we have not been focusing on. We'll do that. Celeste Malloy might fall short. That's interesting. In that district. Mike Kennedy's up in the 3rd. I think, he ran against Romney in 2018. He almost knocked him off at the convention. But let's see. Oh, yeah, in terms of what Trump's saying, he's like, Ukraine has to come to the table or no more aid, and then Russia has to come to the table or we're going to destroy them or something, which, again, it's a negotiation tactic. It works. It'll bring somebody to the table. There's a reason why Putin endorsed Biden. There's also a reason why Zelensky, I don't know if he's made a statement, but he probably prefers Biden to Trump, because these world leaders, they'll say Trump doesn't get respect around the world, but in fact, it's more that they fear Trump and they're just channeling that into, perceived disrespect. If you look at Biden at these events with world leaders, you see what he's doing. He's wandering around, doesn't know where he is, doesn't know what the hell's going on. You think they respect this guy? They don't. And the Biden campaign gaslighting, everything's a cheap fake with them, which is a new term. And I guess that's the opposite of a deep fake, because everything we see with Biden is real. It's not fake whatsoever. Let's see. Sam Madsen says, Dems are nominating a weak candidate with a scandal in New York's 22nd. Could we hold the seat after all? Let's see. Let's go back to New York. John Mannion, I haven't heard much about him. Now, I will say that it's unlikely, just given the new map. We didn't really see much change. We get rid of probably one of the weakest in the Republican New York delegation. So, again, is it really the end of the world if he goes down and that's the only loss we have? No, but I can't say. I don't know how Trump's going to do in upstate New York. I'd love to see more polling there district-wise, because I assume a lot of Trump's gains are going to come from New York City, maybe Long Island, obviously Staten Island's part of New York City. But in terms of the upstate, that's where you need to see like 20-point Trump swings for him to actually have a shot to win the state. I don't know if I can see it. Maybe he could do, I think his ceiling is like maybe a Zeldin-type performance. But is that going to translate to the national federal level? It's unlikely as of now, but you never know. Crazier things have happened, and we'll see. All right, we got 2,400 people in chat. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Somebody asked if Bowman lost. Yes, sir, he did. He is done for. He pulled the fire alarm, and he pulled his career. His career is over. Bye-bye. He's done. He's gone. No more. No more Bowman. Mixed feelings, honestly, because it is true that he's so bad, he's so insufferable, that you could make the argument that having him in Congress is a net positive. You could, for the Republicans, just because you have somebody you can point to and say, they're like the court jester. It's like, look who you have in your corner. We're not that. We're going to rail against that. Works out well. It does. But let's see. We'll go back to Utah. Oh, yeah, there was another thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and it's not a big thing. But Biden's campaign, they're seething. They said Project 2025 is here, and then this is what they put up as if this is the thing they've been talking about, which, again, you could probably cherry pick Project 2025 and find far more unpopular positions. But they're so incompetent that this is what they come up with. And keep in mind, Project 2025 is not entirely what they say it is. It's not like Trump's secret agenda. You have an organization that wants to recruit bureaucrats, and they have a manifesto, just like you have the same thing on the left, and you have neocon people that want to do the same thing. It's not Trump's agenda. But then they say, if Trump wins, you're going to have mass deportations and migrant detention camps, which, again, polls now show both are above water. Reinstate the travel ban. The travel ban was popular. It's part of why Trump won in 2016. It is. Trying to fearmonger about it, it's not going to help them. They know they're struggling with Muslims because they can't pick and choose who they want to support in their overseas conflicts in the Middle East. Deploy federal troops to Democrat-run cities, which it's funny that they're using that term that they were mad at Trump for using back then. But still, in terms of the federal troops, if you have a high crime area that is out of control, why not police those areas? And if the local areas are going to defund the police, yes, send in the National Guard. That's more important than policing Russia, Ukraine, Yemen, where we're in a new war. Biden has started a new war, or we've entered a new war under Biden. So yeah, we have all these troops overseas. We don't defend our own cities. People are being shot. They're being killed. They're not safe. You see what's going on. We don't defend our border. It's being permeated every single day by thousands upon thousands of people, new people, many of whom are coming from, as Trump says, mental institutions, all these places. And then you just have direct DOJ to prosecute political opponents, which again is not popular. But again, when Biden does it, it's fine. Trump trying to do it, oh no, he can't do it. He's vengeful. That's bad. It's like, what has Biden's term been about? It's been about Trump bad. It's been about revenge. It's been about owning the cons. And in turn, it's destroyed the nation, the fabric of the nation. And then you have replace career civil servants with hardline loyalists, which I love that one. That's kind of basically what Project 2025 is about. And if that part of it comes into fruition, that's huge, because he wants to say, nope, we didn't have a plan to drain the swamp last time. Now we have a plan to drain the swamp. That's what we're going to go out there and do. We're going to get rid of all these bureaucrats, and then it's going to be much better. But again, a lot of this Project 2025 stuff, largely fear-mongering, largely not even a part of Trump's agenda. They want you to believe that Trump is going to nationally ban birth control. I don't even know how that would be possible. He's not going to do it. Everybody knows that there's virtually zero shot of that happening to begin with. Worst case for them is it would go back to the states, and then no state's going to ban that. Any state that does, the Republican governor will probably lose re-election at that point. But that's beside the point. When we're talking about this election, they could try to make it about issues that Trump isn't running on. They could try to make it about whatever they want to make it about. But at the end of the day, is it going to make the difference? In my opinion, it is not going to move the needle as much as they need it to. Obviously, abortion is something that has fired them up in the past, especially in these, judicial races, especially in these midterm years. But when you're talking about this election's a referendum on Biden. Biden whining and bitching about abortion not being legal in some states because the Supreme Court made a good decision for once does not change the fact that it's happening under Biden. What is Biden going to do about it? Biden promised in 2016 to codify Roe v. Wade. He had a majority in the House, a majority in the Senate. He couldn't do it because he's weak, he's incompetent. And Trump, I think, maybe not on that issue, but on plenty of issues, you're going to hear a lot of this. 4 years, Joe, you're talking about doing something. You haven't done it in 4 years. You're not doing it. Stuff like that. Career politician, you do nothing. That was effective for Trump to say in the second debate that I rewatched, and it's 100% true. He said the best line of Trump, in my opinion, maybe aside from like the 2016 debate one-liners, but in terms of the whole did you use the word smart? He said, the first debate, he had some one-liners there. The best one-liner from 2020 for Trump was, Joe, I ran because of you. And again, that was good, because you talk about people who don't even like Trump and realizing, wait a minute, so, it's Trump, it's these people's fault while we even have Trump. So it touched on all bases. It was a great one-liner. If that debate was before early voting, I think we would have had a little bit of a different result in the election, but who knows? It could have changed 20,000 people's minds out of the, I don't know how many million people would have ended up watching it. All the shenanigans would have fell short at that point, wouldn't have mattered. Let's see. John Campbell's, actually, we'll get to that one later. I missed like 5 of them. Okay. Eaters of Dead for 10 says Lyman and Staggs both won convention, was bypassed by Cox and Curtis, gathered signatures so they would appear on the ballot today. With a lot of Dems crossing over, it needs to be fixed. Exactly. 50, almost 50%, maybe when all the votes are in, over 50% of people oppose the winner, which again, I'm not necessarily a diehard runoff enjoyer. But in terms of the convention, that's how it should be done. You can't have both. There's no point to have both. I know Minnesota does both, Virginia for some things. I like what Virginia does. You need people who are smart and capable to the point where you're not nominating people who can't win the state, but you also need people that care about the party, that care about the issues. You don't want rhinos occupying these seats from deep Republican states like Utah. John Curtis, is he going to be as bad as Mitt Romney? He could be. He's going to be he's maybe replacement level for Romney, maybe a tad better just because he's not full Romney. I don't even know if John Curtis has endorsed Donald Trump. I have no idea. But again, Trump, they're really going to give it to him in the media because of tonight. Oh, his candidates are losing, they say. So apparently his candidates are losing, but they'll also blame him for the midterms when he probably had less influence because he was not the nominee. They'll blame him for the midterms. His candidates lost, even though they were going to win the primaries anyways without him in many cases. But here it's a problem. Everything's a problem for Trump. A lot of people, mainly the terminally online DeSimp crowd, which again does not represent every single person in the real world who supported DeSantis or whatever. These are a few thousand agitators. They're very bad people. They are bought and paid for. Many of them are anonymous, and they mean to cause chaos. And it's not working, clearly. Didn't work in the primary enough. Probably not going to work in the general. But, oh, we're a real conservative. Here, let me trash the only guy who can save this country at this stage in the game. Really? That's what you're going to do? You're a principled conservative, all right. Can't even conserve the nation. What are you conserving? Decency? Do we have to pull up all the pictures of these naked transgender people at the White? I don't want to do that, obviously, for not even just for TOS reasons. I'm not going to pull it up because I don't want to see it, and I don't want to subject thousands of people to seeing it, even though they probably have seen it. But yeah, the decency. What's the argument? What's the conservative argument against Trump? There's none. I can't find, at least at this stage in the game. We had a primary debate. Clearly, we saw who won the primary. That was about more than this. But if you want to say, oh, I can't vote for Trump, you're letting Biden destroy the country. If you claim to be a Republican or conservative, Republicans are never going to win an election ever again if Biden wins. At least not unless they completely just cave on everything. They're not going to be the same. And then your whole principled conservatism shtick goes out the window. It's true. Honestly, decency is on the ballot. It's Donald Trump. That's decency. Believe it or not. Compare that to this clown in the White House. Look at what Biden's doing. Look at how he acts. Look at how he behaves. He's. You really think that Biden is a decent person? Not how it works. It's because he's from the political class. That's what it is. He's from the political class, and he doesn't tell the truth about certain things that needs to be said. That's the main problem. And everything they say gets proven wrong. Trust in the media is plummeted to the lowest level of all time, according to polling. That's why Donald Trump is probably going to win this election. Let's see. It's Cool Guy Rise says Andrew Wilson says Trump won't win. Thoughts? Who the hell is Andrew Wilson? Am I missing something? I don't know who this guy is. Probably, it doesn't seem like whoever he is, if he's not paying attention to what's going on. It doesn't seem like he's paying attention. I don't even know who that is. Irrelevant to me. Redcoat says Bowman should have won. F. Okay, he says F, Zionism and Latimer. I agree with the big money part. I think big money shouldn't be in politics. I also think that Bowman largely did it to himself. It's a combination of things, just like the Bob Good stuff. It's a combination of things. Why did Trump endorse against Bob Good? Because because he had an opponent who was being well-funded and was beating him in the polls, and then he endorsed against. It's a combination of things. Everyone wants to blame one thing or the other. If he didn't pull the fire alarm, the primary challenge wouldn't have worked. Because we talk about, AIPAC and primaries. I think it's an issue. They screwed over, it was one of the reasons, but they screwed over Herrera in Texas. But here it's a little different because every single time their candidate, they don't win. They didn't win in Pennsylvania, but they won in Texas because it was a close race. So there's a lot of factors here. There's a lot of factors. I'm not saying that it's not a factor. I'm just saying that there are other factors. And I don't like big money. It doesn't matter where the money's coming from either. But it is true that, yeah, I mean, I don't like the fact that you have a group that does claim to focus on, we're going to prop up support for candidates that support funding foreign nations. I'm against big money in politics together, but I understand why people feel like it's a slap in the face. In many ways, I get it. If there was there's a Ukraine lobby, there's all kinds of lobbies. Yes, they're not as active. I'm aware, but it is true. The Turkish lobby, not very small, but they're the reason why America didn't recognize the Armenian genocide for how long. Now, Biden, this is one accomplishment. Good for him. Still not voting for you, though. It's not going to make a dent. Official M16 said, glad to be here and support Red Eagle Politics, Trump 2024. Well, glad to have you here. And Trump 2024 indeed. John Campbell says, random question, but why do you think Romney choked so bad in Iowa and Ohio and other Midwestern states? Those could have easily been won. He did worse in Mahoning County, which is a county Obama won by 30, than Trump won. He did worse there than McCain. He's an elitist. He couldn't connect with people. He was very robotic, very establishment, didn't really focus on the right issues, didn't inspire people. That's the reason why. I mean, there's no other reason. Now, this is why I'm glad we nominated Trump and not some other people. Oliver Montgomery says, why are you taking money from Israel? I guess I got to pay the bills, okay? I got to pay the bills. Total, every single dollar I take, it's so true. You're so insightful. You've cracked the code. Aren't you a very intelligent human being? Aren't you? Central Kentucky Elevator says, I had hoped Staggs won, but Utah still has the country's best senator, Mike Lee. They do. Surprisingly. I mean, it was a 10-point race against McMuffin in 2022, and he was an incumbent. Utah is broken. I'm not saying they're going to flip at the presidential level, but the GOP is broken. They need to fix themselves quickly. And we need maybe a double agent who LARPs as a rhino and then wins and then turns out to be like solid. Maybe reforms the system. But I don't know. Let's see. Sam Madsen says Romney would have won the primary if he ran again, wouldn't he? Well, I mean, I don't know. It is interesting. It depends, because if it's Trump v. Romney, one-on-one, that's the only two candidates that enter the race, it's tough. But especially Trump starting out then. But if there's so many candidates, Trump's still above the rest of them, you might have some drop out. They might have tried to do a Super Tuesday thing, but Trump still would have gotten close to 50%. People are sick of Romney. Trump would have bullied him off the stage the same way he did all the other people. So maybe he would have stood some chance. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that he would have done that much. I don't think he would have done that much better than like Cruz and Rubio combined. Maybe the primary would have gone on longer. Maybe it would have been a contested convention. Then he probably would have gotten the nomination. But honestly, if Romney ran, I don't even know what his primary poll numbers were like at the time. But yeah, Romney's a disgrace. And now we have another one for 6 years. Wyatt says, my buddy Ryan thinks Biden will win. Thoughts? Well, I don't know who your buddy Ryan is. I mean, there's a lot of people that think Biden's going to win. Doesn't make it true. Now, he could win. I'm not saying he can't win, but a lot of it, you are wish casting because he's not the favorite. He's not the favorite. You could say he's got a shot. You could say it depends on what happens between now and then, but the economy, the gaslighting's not working. The fact that you have the metrics that Biden touts and he still goes out there and he still says, well, you know what? I know a lot of people are struggling right now. The fact he admits it proves it. That you can't defend this record. You can't. You can't. Colin DeVos says, would Carson be better than Burgum or Rubio for VP? I don't think for electoral purposes. Maybe in the role he would be better. Zach Webster says if the GOP loses the 24 election, 2028 will be a Curtis Haley ticket running for common sense conservative reform and disavowing racist radical MAGAism. Not that far. The GOP is going to have to be a little bit more, I guess you would say, sly than that. You're not going to get that. But you might get somebody who is a double agent of the establishment who could talk with a MAGA face. They'll throw on a MAGA hat or whatever. They'll have some other campaign. The 2028 primaries are really going to be a brutal battle because, Trump, people said initially he could have been at risk of losing his grip. He was never at risk of losing the grip, especially given the fact that his opponents, they were not strong candidates overall. DeSantis does not have a personality. He's not a good salesman. Even the donors were abandoning him past a certain point because his campaign was nosediving. Haley is Haley. Vivek is unproven. I think people that liked him or would be cool with him being president or even liked him better than Trump on some things would have stuck with Trump, and then maybe, they'd be like, oh, well, Trump and then Vivek will have the next 8 years or whatever. We'll see. But Alexander Zanev, thanks for the 10. Mitchell Ryan says, you think the Republicans will keep the House? If Trump wins, I think so. They may expand. And it's not going to be because of the House Republicans. It's not because of them, actually. It's because of everything else as well. The Green Renegades is quick recap, please. Did we get any W's? Nope. We did not. Unless you count Lauren Boebert easily winning a W, I can't say that that's technically true. Dova Budgie 100 says, I was at the Philly Trump rally. Well, hopefully you had a good time. I enjoyed watching it on YouTube. Oh, Sam Madsen says, I mean the 2024 Senate primary. Which, the way I interpreted the question is an interesting question, though. But in terms of Romney, he would have faced more opposition. But I think, given the results tonight, Stagg's not even at 30. Romney probably would narrowly, I guess maybe by 10, pull off the state. It's a mess. Trump with the Romney, that's a miscalculation. 2018, he's like, oh, I'll endorse him for Senate. Maybe he'll endorse me back and we'll win over some people. First of all, Romney doesn't have much pull, for one. For two, it didn't work. He got in there, he impeached him. It's funny because Romney's the type of guy that says, well, the Trump cases against him are actually politicized. So he'll acknowledge something like that, and then you see what he does. You see what he goes out there and does. He's just a two-faced clown, and now nobody likes him. Nobody likes the guy. He's done, which is good, but not good if you're going to replace him with this guy. And hopefully this guy will at least endorse Trump. It's a minimum you can ask for. I don't even know if he's going to do that. He might be quiet. He might stay quiet. When he has no reason to, Utah is going to vote for Trump by a decent margin. The Green Renegade says, any thoughts on Colorado's 3rd district and Adam Frisch? Colorado's 3rd, that would be the this one, where Jeff Hurd won. I mean, like I said, it's a give and take because now you don't have to spend money trying to win it or defending the seat, but then you get the weaker option. And as for the other guy, he's not going to win it, especially now. He couldn't win it in the midterms when Democrats destroyed Republicans in Colorado. At the presidential level, even if you get the same margin, he's not going to fundraise as much because he's not running against Lauren Boebert again. M says, within reason, who's your ideal House Speaker? Well, I would have liked Jordan, but I feel like if he would have gotten in there, he would have also ended up disappointing a lot of people. So again, it depends. It really depends. I could give a name. Andy Biggs was going to run for it. I think he would have been good. It's usually going to be somebody who's relatively ceremonial, probably not loud, but also somebody that's got a good record. And again, we thought we had that. And then again, the swamp runs deep. Mike Johnson, very good voting record, good on a lot of stuff beforehand, and then gets in there and disappoints a lot of people. Now, maybe he'll be better under a Trump presidency. I think he probably will be because you can do more. It's not like you have a 4 or 5 seat majority and you have a president who, if you don't agree with, the government gets shut down and you don't want to do that. Maybe we should have done it. probably would have hurt Biden more than it would have hurt Republicans. But yeah, our dog show says Gold Crown politics is Trump winning Texas by 18. Do you agree? I think that that's a very lofty. I think it'll be closer to 10. Probably less than 10. I mean, it's still going to be a big win for Trump. I think his ceiling is like Abbott's margin, something around there. So let's see. We have 2,000 people in chat. Like the stream down below. Make sure you subscribe if you are not subscribed to the channel. Dylan Allen says Rick Scott for Senate Majority Leader. He has my vote here in Orlando, Florida. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. I think that in terms of Rick Scott's chances, he's got a shot, but who knows? He's got a shot for it to be Senate Majority Leader. I don't know who's going to run yet. I don't know who's going to run. Press is saying, well, Bowman did lose. He lost. Now, it is true that Rick Scott did lose, or he did screw up the midterms a little bit, but I think it's more than one person that did that. I think Lindsey Graham, with his 15-week proposal ban for abortion nationally, hurt Adam Laxalt. And I don't know if it hurt Walker as much, but there's a lot of factors that go into play with the Senate. But again, it's all in the past. When I look at the results now, I don't look at them with the same disillusionment for this upcoming election based off of everything that we've learned, everything that we're seeing unfold this election cycle. So we have we got a lot going on. We have a lot going on. But in terms of the results, we've covered all of them. It seems like doesn't seem like we have. Actually, we do have that one congressional district, which is still up for grabs. Celeste Malloy, will she go down? I mean, it's possible. Does seem like in the 3rd district, Mike Kennedy is the favorite. He probably wins this district. And he's even winning in Salt Lake County so far. So you have that in the 3rd. So maybe a slight upgrade there. And then you have this district, which is very intriguing. Let's take a look. Where are the votes outstanding? Seems like the votes outstanding are mainly in Malloy-favored places, even though there's some counties that are not favorable that are not reporting at all. And again, maybe you could see that if the election day votes for Jenkins enough, you may have a shot. I think it's a little unlikely as it stands right now, but this is the only competitive race that has not yet really been called. So we still have counties left to report, as people are correctly saying in chat. But again, the debate, that's what everybody's talking about. Congressional stuff, there's not a lot of surprises here. You can't exactly say that it's like, oh, it's a bad night. You can't also say it's a good night because we haven't really had any victories. But it's not really anything out of the realm of expectations. Utah is awful. Utah is trash. Utah is, it's if I ever run for office, they're going to use that against me in Utah. But in terms of the party, not the state, the party is trash. The system is trash. The people are good, but they're not really showing it because they're the ones voting. But a lot of these people are liberals. They're voting in this primary too. They just register as Republicans, and that's not enough to excuse it, obviously. Because they should just do away with it. If that's the problem, just go to convention, go to a convention system, go from there. Make sure you have competent people running. Staggs is competent, but he was competent enough to get the state party endorsement, but it was not enough to even get him to 30 based off of the results that we see right now. He currently leads one county, and he leads it by not even 100 votes out of what seems to be like 14-ish thousand people. Oh well. Now, there was a special election overperformance, as somebody noted. Probably would have been by more if it wasn't for the third-party candidates in Colorado. Probably would have been by more. Like, you look at this race right here in the 4th District, that's a 23-point win, but you look at the Libertarian candidate getting 5%, the other candidate getting 2%. I mean, that's surprisingly high, and it maybe will foreshadow a strong performance from RFK Jr. in Colorado that could narrow the margin depending on who he's taking votes away from. I would assume in Colorado it would be Biden. But let's see. Utah is the second best. Is that even true? It's not the second biggest economy. You could talk about, oh, well, they're, you know why? Because they're growing fast. I mean, it's going to make sense. They are growing right now. That would explain why their economy is doing well. But their politics are not doing too well right now. For a deep red state, I don't know what it is. Could be a lot of things, but Trump, he stuck to his guns in Utah. He gets a lot of credit there because he said it doesn't matter if he doesn't have a shot. Get out and vote for Staggs. He didn't unendorse him. He stuck with him, and he reiterated his support, said it was a long shot, and you saw what happened. It's not like there's a lot else he could do. At this point, given the makeup of the electorate, rallying with Staggs probably would hurt Staggs, not help Staggs at this point. I don't know. But you have a lot of people voting for a primary election too. You look at the makeup here of the election, 251,000. You're probably going to have like maybe around 400,000 people when it's all said and done. Probably less than that, but still, it's disappointing. But it's not out of the realm of what the expectations were. And yeah, it's not high, it's not super high turnout, but for a primary election in Utah, I mean, like in general, compared to what we're seeing in some of these other states for statewide races, it's not the lowest. Like in Ohio, which is more than like 3 times the size. We saw, I don't even know what the final turnout was in the Ohio primary. But again, that was a presidential primary at the same ticket, but it was like 1.1 million. But Ohio is much, much bigger than Utah. And this is a closed primary, not an open one from what I understand, so that would not really seem to explain it. Doggy Down Syndrome says the only decent Utah state official is Sean Reyes. Well, he's out the door. He's gone. If he ran for Senate, maybe he would stand a better shot than Staggs, but he didn't. So, oh well. Either way, we have a debate coming up, and that's the main focus. So we'll do a video about these results on the website as our website video of the week for exclusive paying members. And I don't know. Base Cat says, you think the Hawk Tua girl is voting for Trump? I don't know. Honestly, you talk about, what is she, like from Georgia? And probably, I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing. It's like the big tent. We're having all these people in the tent, and then you have these crazy people join, which, I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, she's not really the best speaker for the RNC. We'll leave it at that, but it would not surprise me if she was. So that video's insufferable. It does give me a good fantasy football team name though. There's not, and I'm sure it's going to be used by a lot of people, but Hawk Tua Tagovailoa does go hard. You can't deny that it doesn't. But what can I say? Let's see. We have a lot of people in chat still. 1,800 people. But yeah, Mike Kennedy is Utah's third. That's correct. And yeah, I'm surprised actually at this margin because Lyman did a lot better than I thought he would do, which is somewhat impressive. If you showed me this, I would actually think Staggs might have pulled off the upset, especially as this might narrow. But I'm kind of surprised that Lyman did better than Staggs did. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So Jenkins, this race is still intriguing, but they're not reporting any new votes. They're probably not going to report new votes during this stream. We'll go for a little bit more. If we get any more super chats, we'll have to answer those, but it does seem like we've covered all bases tonight. Oh, yeah, Utah is getting an NHL team. That's true. They're moving the Coyotes there. I'm not entirely sure why, well, we know why they're leaving Arizona, but again, when Utah is growing a lot, they're trying to get an MLB team. I don't think they could support an NFL team, but they are growing a lot, and that's, again, a consequence of that. You have more people moving, then there's going to be more of a demand for entertainment, so it would make sense. But speaking of hockey, the Cup stays in America. Florida Panthers fell short last year, thankfully, and thankfully they won this year. Canada, once again, an American CFL team has won the CFL Grey Cup more recently than a Canadian NHL team has won the Stanley Cup. So isn't that something? Isn't that something? When they get rid of Trudeau, we could talk about it. And if you saw that, let's talk about special elections. Oh, you saw what happened last night. Toronto, the city center of Toronto, conservatives decimating the Liberals there in a very Trudeau-heavy area. So again, it's a special election. Doesn't mean much. I mean, maybe in Canada it does. I don't know. I'm not the number one expert for Canadian politics. But in terms of what you're seeing with Trudeau, his unpopularity, does seem like he's probably on the way out soon, and you'll have somebody somewhat better who's probably still not perfect, but it's Canada, wants to lower immigration a little bit, is not as much of a liberal tyrant or like a pushover like the last two people that they put up there in Canada who won the popular vote but lost the election. Sam Madsen says, broadly speaking, we're doing great in state legislature primaries, but awful in congressional ones. Why? Well, there's less money involved. When there's less money involved, you tend to see the will of the people more reflected in that. That's kind of why. So it's not surprising. But it's just how it works. LDS Dating says, I'm from Washington County and voted for Lyman, Jenkins, and Staggs. Sad day, but there's a lot of uninformed Republicans in Utah. Well, if they're even really Republican, and many of them are not. But there are a lot of Republicans who are these squishy, more, they tend to be Mormon, it seems, types. They don't like Trump's tone. They like Romney's tone. They're going to side with the Romney side. Trump still won the primary at least. But, again, that was kind of a guarantee. So, what can I say? We've been going for an hour and 48 minutes. We'll probably end the stream in about 5 minutes, so this will be the last call for Super Chats. We will be live again after the debate, the great debate, the consequential debate that we will see take place not right here, but right over in Georgia. It's going to be taking place. And Trump, Biden, CNN. I don't know if it's going to be like at CNN headquarters because they're also headquartered there too. But that's going to be interesting. It will be at a very minimum. It'll be an intriguing thing. I don't even know if it's going to change the race no matter what. You see how, if Donald Trump can be, and this is actually the thing. And they always used to say he's not the adult in the room. Yeah, I think he is now. If he can relay that, come across that way, he might pick up some steam. But you also want to have the one-liners too. You want to make it entertaining. You have to be Trump. You have to operate on peak Trump capacity. You want to galvanize your base, but you also want to add to it. You're in front of millions of people. I don't know how many million. It's not going to be probably like 70 the way it was. But you could argue that if Trump does well in the debate, then people will be playing the highlights of the debate for the next 3 months. So, and that could happen no matter what. But if you get a few good one-liners in there, that's definitely going to hit the next 3 months. You talk about it. This is a referendum on 2 presidencies. That's why the 13 keys, throw them in the garbage. Doesn't matter. This is an election unlike any other election that you have seen in this country's history, going all the way back at least to the 1890s with Grover Cleveland and Benjamin Harrison. When you look at this now, it's a very new concept, different ball game type of thing. And we haven't had an election like this before. We may not have one for a while, or maybe it will be commonplace and we'll have higher presidential turnover. But the pendulum is swinging back to some extent, at least electorally and the federal level. And Biden is despised, and his record is indefensible. He wants this election to be about things that happened 4 years ago, but it's not. That's another reason why Trump has the upper hand. Ranting about COVID, 1-6, it doesn't matter. And even the abortion, like anything bad that happened under Biden, you cannot put it on Trump exclusively. People, it doesn't hit the same. And as for the abortion thing, most people are not seething about Dobbs v. Jackson anymore. They did for like a couple weeks. The problem with the Republicans in the midterms was not even Dobbs itself. It was more their response to it, which was very incoherent. And at times they said some things that were used against them, and it did not work out too well, especially given the funding gap that we saw. But when you look at the state of the country right now, like I said, it's a different ballgame. It's different. It's a different scenario regarding the issue. Trump is saying, "I'll leave it to the states." Republicans in the midterms, in many cases, they didn't do that. And the ones that did a little bit better. Even ones that were governors who had restrictions in their states. So people get used to it. The Dallas people that were upset in 2022, they didn't really show up to vote enough, clearly. They're okay. Oh, if it happens, you got to drive to Wichita, which again, you shouldn't do it. I'm not condoning it. I'm not condoning it whatsoever. I'm not going to cave on my views on it, but you have to be smart. But when you look at the political lay of the land, it's a different lay of the land than it was 4 years ago. It's very different. Very different, or 2 years ago, I should say, and 4 years ago. But, it's a little different in terms of abortion than 2 years ago. So Biden has abortion, kind of. He has 1-6, which again, it kind of goes out the window when you're trying to persecute your political opposition. Just saying. So, I don't know. This is not a single issue election, though. But if it was going to be one, it would probably be immigration, which is crucial. You have immigration, you have the economy, and you have a lot of issues. So we'll see what Trump comes up with. I don't know the topics. Will we get the topics before the debate? I don't know. Maybe they'll be leaked somehow, some way. I'm sure Biden will get the questions, and that might not be enough to help him anyways. Base Cat says, Joe, let's get ready to mumble. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Even if they see, everyone likes to talk about the State of the Union. Go back and watch the State of the Union. The State of the Union, yes, he was on something. We know that. But still, he was reading off a teleprompter, and even then he butchered it. Then the Democrats in the audience just started clapping and it overshadowed it. But he was going on some weird rants as well. Something about Snickers bars, and I have no idea. But yeah, it was not an awful performance for him. It was awful in the sense that it basically just spit in the face of the concept of the State of the Union, because he made it a campaign speech. That was like the DNC for him. And he didn't even get a bump. He didn't get a bump at all. And now he has to face Trump, who will fact check him in real time. So we'll see. Jackson Moore says, Boebert and MTG need to go. They're hurting us with indies. They make Congress and Republicans look like a clown show, he says. Some people probably are going to agree and some are going to disagree. I think that MTG at this stage in the game is becoming counterproductive. I've said it before. I think that she started off her first term very solid, proposing very solid legislation. But then again, yeah, she has an optics problem, and it's not necessarily the thing she says politically, like being offensive optics-wise. It's more just like the way that she comes off when she's even just saying normal. It's not a great look. But like I've said with these people, same thing with Boebert in the movie theater, all that stuff. If you're trying to replace these people, you need to replace these people with not establishment hacks, but with people who are better on the or about, I just would say about the same replacement level for them. We'll go with that. But yeah, MTG, I know why people don't like MTG. But again, the Democrats have AOC. They have all these other people. So I'm not going to throw everybody under the bus for the sake of throwing them under the bus. But yeah, I agree, there are legitimate criticisms. Because they're not even that, like, Boebert, I think, is a better voting record at this point. But MTG, she cares more about Kevin McCarthy than literally anything else at this stage in the game. And that's kind of a problem in my book. And it's weird because she now wants to vacate Johnson, which her reasoning is actually not bad. I might agree with the reasoning, even if I disagree with the timing. As for McCarthy, was vacated for the same reason. Oh, that's a problem. That's a big problem, apparently. No, we can't do that. Why? Why can we not do that? These are valid, important questions, and we have no answers for them. So, let's see. We go to the Attorney General's race. They called it for Derek Brown. It does seem as if the race in the 2nd District is stagnant as it possibly could be at this stage in the game. New York, again, Bowman looks like he's losing by, yeah, like I said, it's getting to be closer to like a 15-point loss. So there's that. But we'll go back. I think, do we have any more super chats? We do, actually. Mitchell Ryan says, I've heard from some people that other countries might not be able to trust us because of the Russia sanctions. Also, the fact that our country is too volatile. What do you think about this? Well, depends on the country, because a lot of countries in the West are doing the same thing. We've always had some sort of sanction on Russia. Definitely it's gotten worse after the Ukraine invasion. I don't know how that really plays out. I do agree that the more that you try to antagonize Russia, you're going to push them more into China's corner, and depending on what goes on across the world, especially with Taiwan, especially with Biden as president, if Biden wins re-election, probably go to World War III, probably, in some capacity. In some capacity, we will. MTG polls at like 70% in her district. Well, she gets over 75% of the vote in her district. I don't even know if that's true given the primary results we've seen for her when she's been challenged, but she won the primary pretty easily. But in terms of the optics, like, yeah, it's like you come off a little, even if I agree, this is the way she comes off at times, and some of the things she says in some of the hearings. Like her and AOC going at it it's like two sides of the same coin, in terms of the way they act, at least. Policy, MTG is good, but has gotten weaker as she's been in Congress. And if there was a viable primary challenger who is not a rhino to her, they probably could have stood a chance. The reason why they probably would fall short is because Trump, she has a good relationship with Trump. She's in his corner, for better or worse, and that is one thing. So it is unlikely she gets primaried out unless she continues to veer off to the establishment side, which she's kind of done, but not enough like in the real world. Some people on like electoral side of Twitter, they might be upset. But again, does this anger translate to the real world? In many cases, it does not. So she'll probably be fine in terms of her electoral prospects, but we'll see. They'll treat her like AOC and they'll put a muzzle on her, which again recently is starting to come off with her rally that she did in the Bronx. I've never seen anything like that before. Biden comes out like that. I don't even think Biden, you could put him on everything, all of Hunter's shenanigans. It wouldn't even make Biden that way. He'd be somewhat alert. His eyes, you could tell. As for the debate, they're preparing Biden. Like I said, they're preparing him. Don't underestimate him. If you hear people are like, oh, Biden's going to get destroyed, you tell them no, he's not. Don't underestimate this guy. I don't think Trump is. Some people are. The media probably is as well, just so they could say, well, Biden had an alert performance tonight, which isn't even saying he won, but it's like that's what they're going to try to spin this as. But the only difference is it's not just Biden speaking a speech off a teleprompter. It's Biden against Trump. And if I watched the 2020 debates, I saw both of them recently. The takeaway that I got from it was, okay, I can understand why, Biden might have an upper hand in the political climate. Not saying he necessarily won fairly, but I can understand, given the climate, that Biden was far better off than he is now. Think about that. They called Utah's third. Did they actually? They didn't call it here. But the New York Times has been iffy this year, and hopefully they'll be good on election night, but we don't know. Refresh. I already refreshed. What Utah? Oh, Utah's third. Okay. Yeah, they called Utah's third. I thought you were talking about the second. Luke Newman says, is Boebert the same district as Greg Lopez? She is now. She is. Exactly. So she sold out when she got hot and heavy with McCarthy. Pathetic. These are allegations. Many are set. I don't know if it's true, but I would not be surprised. But she has not been the same as she entered Congress, and I'll leave it at that, and that's objective, that's verifiable. You really can't deny that. You can't. But, let's see. There's nothing, doesn't seem like there's anything new here. Yeah, Lyman keeps gaining with these vote dumps in some of these places. Half the counties is going to win half the counties. But again, not a lot of people live there compared to Salt Lake County, where he's getting 33% of the vote. So, but what were we talking about besides the MTG stuff? Oh, the debate. Yeah, the debate is, it's going to be something. I don't know how many people are going to watch it, though. I said it because I'm not sure, because it's so early. A lot of people don't even know what's going on in the real world. Face facts. It might not be a good thing, but hopefully you get at least 50 million people. Because 2020, you got 60 to 70 million people given the debates. You could look at the 2016 debates. You could look at the total viewership of the first debate between Trump and Clinton. I think it was like the most viewed at the time. And how many people did you have viewing it? It seems like you had 84 million. You're not going to get that. You might get half that, honestly. It could be half of that. The second debate had 66.5 million. That was the you should be in jail debate. And then the third debate, let's see, what was the viewership there? Seemed like the viewership for the third debate was 71.6 million. So it went up a little bit. So I don't know if you're going to see the second debate be more viewed because it's closer to the election and there's a big gap between the two. Maybe, I don't know. Exactly says, how bad is the Senate nominee? Bad. Very bad. Like Mitt Romney, the sequel, is like what we should expect. Maybe he'll be a hair better, but I wouldn't bank on it. Luke Newman says, so will it be a runoff between those two? No. I don't believe there's any runoffs in Utah. M says, maybe Lyman will be the front runner for governor in 28. I don't know if that will be the case. If they get rid of the system of nominating, yes, he probably will be. And I'm glad to see, I'm kind of shocked to see an incumbent governor get less than 60% of the vote. In a state like Utah, that's a net positive, I guess. Better than I expected. That is like the silver lining of the night, and it's not even an electoral win. But, yeah. Other than that, like I said, this debate is probably not going to be that viewed. But, you know, make sure you tell people to watch it, though, because a lot of people don't know what's going on. 2020 debates, everybody was tuned in politics 2020. If you get 2020 turnout again, the same people turning out, I think it's a good thing for Trump. But at the end of the day, you could make the case that lower turnout, but still higher than the midterms would help Trump as well. It's a little bit of a give and take sort of thing. Luke Newman says, not Utah, Colorado, between Lopez and Boebert. A runoff there in Colorado? I don't believe so. They called her as the victor. There's no runoffs there either. As for Lopez, Lopez is not running for the general election in Colorado's 4th. He's only running for the special. He'll be out of there soon enough. So, yeah. Yeah, Jenkins, again, that's another heart-wrenching, Trump should have endorsed the other guy race, but, well, it's not over. It is not over, which, again, this is still going on, but when you look at where the votes are left, Salt Lake, okay, you have another county that just came in for Malloy. That is not even like an urban county. It's a rural county. So, again, this is probably going to go to Malloy by like 4 or 5 points. Maybe a little bit more. But that's about it. Other than that, I think that we're done here. I mean, what else is there to talk about? Final call for Super Chats. We'll go for another 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll wrap things up for good. We'll look in chat. We'll see what chat has to say. Like to see what people have to say about what they're just in chat. You don't have to Super Chat, but in chat, drop your debate prediction, your I guess you would say your hot take on the debate. We'll wrap up with this. What's your hot take on the debate? I'll be reading regular chat. If you want to send it via Super Chat, you can. But in terms of the hot take, someone said, I won't watch CNN on principle. Well, technically, there's no other way. You watch it on some other network that's simulcasting it. Or watch the recap. Or rewatch it when it's on YouTube, because it will be on YouTube. Trump will win the debate, but CNN will edit the hell out. Well, I think it's live. If CNN does that, then Donald Trump is going to benefit in the long run for it, because it would just prove everything to be right. You have a Democrat with the surname Reagan who is leading. That's surprising. Trump's going to treat Biden like an old... Well, honestly, if he does it in like a slightly patronizing, but not in a way that makes people feel bad for Biden, then that might be effective. It just depends, how does he go about it? That's the question. And I think he just needs to... I just think he needs to just go out there the way he did in the second debate with Biden. Let Biden... I mean, he has to let Biden talk. The mics will be muted. I think it helps Trump that the rules are set up that way. And I think he needs to just go out there and make sure that he gets his point across and make sure that this is a referendum on Biden. Sometimes talking a little bit less. Obviously, you have to respond to the attacks. He will, I'm sure. Some are more worthy of a lengthy response than others. That's true. But when it comes down to the whole talking part, sometimes less is a little bit more. Definitely you want airtime, but you don't want to jump in every 5 seconds like the first debate Trump did in 2020, which again, he was right about everything. He won the argument, and Biden did not win that debate, by the way. You could argue Trump shot himself in the foot, but you cannot argue Biden did well enough to win. You could say Trump, if you want to say Trump lost, Biden did not kick his ass like so many morons will say. Biden did not win that debate by default. You want to talk about him benefiting? You could talk about that, but he didn't win the debate. And Trump needs to make sure that there's no way Biden can win this debate. You are playing with a lead. You're playing with a lead, but you also have a lot to lose. That's not to say you can't go on offense, because rhetorically against Biden, you are going on offense. But still, you don't want to be gambling with the lead. You don't want to lose ground. And I don't think the debate's going to change much, but that's not good for Biden. It's not good for Biden if it doesn't change much. Deuce Vault says Trump's chances of winning the national popular vote, honestly, 50-50. Luke Newman says, so in November, Boebert's the nominee in the fourth. Yes. Doesn't seem like... Okay, we have a few. Trump wins the debate, might not help him, but if he's too aggressive, he should focus on how bad Biden is. Yeah, it needs to be about Biden, not about Trump. Trump being there and just, I guess you would say, it's not because he's been out of for some people, he's been out of the public eye. They don't watch everything Trump does. But if he's there, he's concise, he gets the point across. That's more than enough. Doesn't try anything too out of line. That's what you need to do. The better auditor candidate in Utah won. Wow, that's a game changer. The auditor. We got the auditor, guys. We got a based accountant. No, it's again, see, this is the thing. Like, they'll give you one little win. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. I think Trump will be disciplined, and I think he will be too. I mean, he is preparing, but he's not going to do this like, oh, we're going to go do this retreat for 2 weeks in the middle of nowhere and just prepare nonstop. That'll burn you out in time for the debate. It'll burn you out. Trump will talk about his indictments. Well, I'm sure it's going to be brought up. Maybe it won't be brought up. That's the thing. I don't even know if Trump's going to bring it up. Biden might say you're a convicted felon, or he might say, he probably says he's a threat to, folks, he's a threat to the democracy. Blah, blah, blah. And then Trump is going to sit up there and he's going to be like, I'm the threat, you're the threat, look at what you do. And I'm sure he's going to do a lot of the, you're an ineffective leader, you're a politician who, says all these things and you don't do them. He says that I don't take responsibility. All what Biden tries to do is put blame. I don't know if he's going to say that. It just depends on the context. Oh, wow. Stags gained 0.1%. That's a game changer. Trump presents himself as 20 years younger. Well, we'll see. I don't want to set those expectations up. It might be the way. That might happen. Maybe Biden won't be on drugs because maybe Trump has basically called their bluff effectively, so they just don't do it. And then Biden comes out there and he, I don't know. But I think it'd be better for them to put him on something, and then they could still say, well, this is a conspiracy theory. But Donald Trump, it probably is like Adderall or something, I don't know. what they give him. Probably a mix of stuff, though. I don't think Adderall is going to do enough, especially at that age. Might give him like a, you don't want to, if you're the Democrats or just anybody, you don't want to have him go out there and, collapse on stage, because that doesn't make you look good either. But this debate, maybe it's testing grounds. I only think there's like a 5 to 10% chance he gets replaced. And of that 5 to 10%, there's a 90% chance it's going to be with Harris. And they know Harris is weaker. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. Stagg should run for a House seat. I think he'd do well. Well, maybe not given the primary. Well, Kennedy seemed to do okay, but I mean, was he even the best candidate in the running? Like, he was the more well-known one. It seems like I think the previous candidate was Curtis, so maybe you talk about an upgrade from him, but still. Base Katz's will probably see an old man yelling at Cloud Joe. Well, then I think that could be something that could make Trump look good. Because if Trump is like, Joe, why are you yelling? Just go out. He can go out there and just like, because Trump has been more reserved. Trump isn't like as boisterous as he was. And he's always kind of been reserved in debates anyways. But he's very, very calculating now. And I think that helps him. He's debated 5 times in presidential debates. He knows what he knows. He's experienced at this point. The media probably says Biden wins anyways. It doesn't matter. The media said that Mike Pence lost to Kamala Harris too, and as somebody who doesn't like Mike Pence, that's objectively false. Just saying. Take a drink each time Biden mentions 1-6 or Roe. You will have quite a headache. I'm sure. I feel sorry for the people that are going to be daring enough to participate in such debate night shenanigans, for sure. But yeah, hopefully I really hope it gets good viewership regardless, because I don't think at minimum you might say it's a draw, but it's not going to help Biden if it's a draw, because if it's a draw in terms of how they come across, the meat of what's being said in the debate is going to be the determining factor. So we've been, I guess, 6 minutes over when I said we're going to end. So we're going to end now, but it was a good stream. Thanks to the many people who tuned in. We will be back we'll release a video tomorrow. We'll be back on Thursday with with the debate stream, the post-debate stream. And hopefully we're going to come back with a debate victory for Donald Trump in one way or another. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this stream. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel as well so you never miss another video or stream. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.